Oh, AFC's home on even years, NFC on odd.
So it's an odd year, but Buccaneers will be the home team in their home stadium
That's nuts.
with Tom Brady. Oh, all right.
He was smart, man. He really just went to a team that all they needed was someone that wasn't going to throw 30 interceptions.
And he threw three tonight.
God. Yeah, he wasn't particularly good tonight, but it was still just enough to win, man.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to start it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Unpopular opinion. Unpopular opinion. Unpopular opinion. Unpopular opinion. Unpopular opinion. Unpopular opinion. Can you deal with it? Yeah.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Unpopular Opinion. Today was a wild week for starters. I'm your host, Jason Rivera. We got my co-host, Bo Benson. Say hello to the people.
What's up, everybody?
We had a wild week, uh, an especially wild weekend. So let's
Yeah,
just dive into what everyone wants to hear this week.
which
That
is the Chargers hiring Joe Lombardi to be their offensive coordinator. That's
No, the
okay.
Bucks and the Packers. Bo,
Look,
I need to hear
I
from you first.
I hadn't actually looked at his stat line this year, but like 4,633 yards, 40 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, and a 102.2 quarterback rating for Tom Brady in his 20th season. That's okay, sure, whatever, man. I don't know. What were you even supposed to do at this point? It's ridiculous. He's going to be like, this is what, his 10th Super Bowl now, and half the time he makes the Super Bowl. That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
Uh, yeah, he's accomplished. Like you can't
There's
you,
no
you can't
it's
take any of that from him. Like he's
no. There's I was telling my friends, like, it's I'm not interested in litigating Tom Brady's career anymore. Like there's nothing more to talk about. Like uh he's the best to ever do it, like, bar none.
uh I don't know. I don't
I don't
know if
want to
I could
hear I don't want to hear Aaron Rodgers, man. I don't want to hear his name anymore.
listen. I don't know if I could give him the best quarterback to ever play the position award. I don't know if I can give him that. He has the best legacy. He has the
Sure, but I mean, I
like no one will ever no listen. I and this isn't taking anything away from Tom. Like I swear, if you say anything negative, even the slightest thing, people take it as you're saying he's the worst player on the planet. Like no. Tom Brady to me, I would put him number 2 as the greatest talent to play quarterback ever.
he's number one.
Number 1 is Aaron Rodgers, bro.
Oh my God.
I don't care. The Packers have not given him shit for
No,
years,
no,
dude.
I don't care, man.
For
I don't care anymore.
years. And he
I don't
still does what
care.
he does. Like, dude,
What's
Tom,
that? Like,
bro,
he's cried for like 10 years now about needing a home NFC Championship game, and he was down 28-10 in this game.
listen, the home field advantage, none of that matters, dude. Like, listen, what does Aaron Rodgers have on that offense besides Devontae Adams?
I don't know, man.
Nobody can name player. Anyone who's not a Packers fan can't name more than
Ah,
3 players, more than
I
two
just
players on that offense
I
for the
just I
Packers,
don't
and he does what he does all the time. Even tonight, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, and it wasn't enough to Tom Brady's 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. I'm not taking it away from him.
they
Tom
just
Brady
I don't know.
does what he needs to do to win, but like, let's be honest, bro. Like, Aaron Rodgers does the most with the least. Like the Packers have done him dirty his entire career. He either has like the worst defenses or they give him nothing on offense. Like a couple of years ago they drafted a quarterback for what? Like, come on, that last year, like why? Like why would you do that?
B or anything. And they took a quarterback.
Anything that would have actually helped Aaron Rodgers, on the offensive side of the ball or defensive side, and they chose not to. Like the Packers, what we need to talk about is how trash the Packers are as an entire organization because they just wasted Aaron Rodgers' entire career.
You
Like
know what?
I base my guess on the Bucks beating the Packers solely on the fact that Tom Brady had weapons everywhere, and it showed this game.
Tom Brady had 3 turnovers today, and the Packers offense couldn't do anything with it. I just don't want to hear it anymore, man. Like Rodgers has had forever. He's cried, he's whined about not having home field advantage in the playoffs before he finally gets it, and they don't do anything with it. I don't know. I can't do it anymore. I'm gonna give that most talented but least decorated or not as decorated. I'm giving that to Mahomes.
Mo- uh,
That's
I
that's
think
his now.
Mahomes will
Here's the
get
thing.
there, but he has to give me 5 more years of what he's doing right now.
Tom Brady has as many NFC championships as Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers in 1 year.
Listen, I'm not taking anything away from Thomas Brady,
No, I know,
but
but we gotta have an honest dialogue about Aaron Rodgers, man. I don't know.
what was he supposed to do with what he had?
You gotta do more. You get
Bruh.
home field. You get home field throughout the playoffs. You got to do more, man. You can't lose. You can't lose after you complain about it.
I don't know, man. He put the team on his back in the middle of that game after they had a terrible start, threw them right back in it. And then let's talk about those last 5 minutes of the game. I think
Yeah,
that
that's
was wild. How do you have Aaron Rodgers and you choose not to go for it it was like 4th and goal, wasn't it?
yeah, no, it was. Yeah, no, it was 4th and goal. I think the 3rd and goal play before it was worse because Rodgers had so much open space in the flat that he chose to ignore and instead threw into double coverage
Well,
and made it harder on the team. I don't know if he scores if he runs it, but at the very least he gets close enough to where it's much more of a easy decision to go for it there. But yeah,
listen,
that's cowardly to kick that field
regardless,
goal.
like exactly, it's cowardly. Like
I
you can't have Aaron Rodgers and
no,
choose to kick it. That I don't.
you
There's
can't.
in no way does that logic make any
No,
sort of sense
I
because if you lose that, if say Aaron Rodgers, you end up turning the ball over on downs. So the hell what? Like you're in the same spot you were in, but you gave your quarterback the chance to win it. We'll never know what would have happened if we gave him the opportunity, and that's ridiculous.
it was horrible. It was the worst. It's some of the worst game management I've ever seen. I think. And like I don't care what the points. Oh, if you kick a field goal, you win with a touchdown, or it's so much. Blah blah blah. Like I don't care. You have Aaron Rodgers, and it's Tom Brady on the other side of the field. Like
Yeah, you don't give it back
that's
to him.
yeah. No.
You know,
And even if you don't get it, like it's still, they've got to go 99 yards to, whatever. I just that was cowardly. Lafleur gagged that, but Rogers had so much open space on that 3rd down play. I can't believe he didn't go for it.
the only play that I think Lafleur was genius for, and I can't believe I never thought of that,
The intentional offsides.
was the intentional
Yeah,
offsides. And I
that
kind of
was
was
smart.
rooting for them to pull that out after he did
Yeah,
that because I was like, that's about to be the play everyone talks about. If they get
they
the
win.
stop, turn around, and Aaron Rodgers scores and they win, like that play right there would have been
Yeah,
wild. It would
that
have
was
been
smart.
wild on Monday.
I just there was that, and then I hated that. I hated the PI call on Johnson.
I think it was too obvious for them not to call it. Like
No,
I get
it was the right call, but like you can't tug on a jersey, obviously. Like you're gonna get called on that. I just hated that he sold it the way that
I mean,
it looked
I
like he got shot by a sniper in the upper deck.
I mean, I don't blame
I
him.
just
But I
I hate
mean,
that.
I seen the arguments where they say, "Oh, well, they let them play the whole game." Like, if it was
Yeah.
like a bang bang play, then I think they would have let it go like the rest of the game. But You can't let that go. And clearly the dude was holding him by the jersey. There was like a foot of jersey in his hand. You could clearly see him tugging on him. And if he hadn't done that, he easily would have caught that ball and the game would have been over. Like,
Penalty is a penalty. I hate the selling. I don't like it. It sets a bad precedent. I don't need to see that take over the NFL.
As much as you hate the selling, I hate the people yelling that the game's rigged.
Oh God,
I'm kind of getting
that's even
tired
dumber.
of, especially after this last year, hearing people complain about things being rigged is getting a little old and worn out, I would say.
That game was that was a good game.
That was good. A lot better than the game that came after it. I don't even want to talk about that game, to be honest. Like, it just kind of ended up the way we expected it, and nothing exciting happened out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's the Chiefs are definitely my least disliked team, so it's whatever. And I always wanted Andy Reid to do good, but I thought the Bills would put up way more of a fight than they did.
Yeah, they started out on fire.
Yeah, it was just like last year, but smaller. Like,
yeah, it was the.
But
yeah.
it was the same. It's the same story too. Like, if you're on the road in the playoffs, like, why are people kicking field goals or anything like that? Like, the Bills kicked 4 or 5 field goals tonight when they should have just gone for it, and it detrimentally, it was a detriment to their team.
I definitely feel like eventually it's going to become a norm. Like, at some point, aggressive football, I think, is going to become a normal thing. It may not be in the next year or two, but maybe 5 years down the line it becomes adopted. But this conservative play calling just isn't the way. Like, like you said, it's kind of a spineless at times, and it's like you've got to take these shots. Like, I mean, Bill Belichick, his whole career in New England was like taking shots all the time. He'd go for it on fourth when people thought he shouldn't, and looked at his resume,
Yeah, no. There's high school coaches that have like completely eliminated the kicking game from their playbook. So that's the future. And obviously if you're playing Madden, stop punting, stop kicking field goals, always go for it. Lead the revolution.
There's obviously situations you don't want to go for it on friggin' 4th and 2 and more when you're on your side of the field, like between like the end zone and the 30. But like if you're in that fringe middle of the field position or on the other side and it's like 4th and 1, 4th and 2, depending on your personnel, can you go for it?
But even then, like, is there really any offense out there that averages under 2 yards a game, 2 yards a play? Like, if you're playing with the mindset that you're not kicking the ball, I don't know. Like, some team is going to try it eventually. There's going to be some really bad team that says, like, you know what, screw it, we're not going to kick the ball anymore.
We've looked at the analytics and the percentage of plays scored in 4th and 1 situations is higher. So now we're always going for it, no matter where we are on the field.
The first team that releases their kicker and their punter, I will bandwagon that team as my second team, and I will root for them. It doesn't matter who it is.
We're gonna get the first. We're gonna just need like a Mike D'Antoni of the NFL to kick that off for us. And
Reed does some wacky stuff with the Chiefs.
He does.
I just hate how likable that team is. I know, man. So many tight end shovel passes. I love it. Gets me going.
Yeah, but like you said earlier, you're rooting for Andy Reid. I did too, especially after those, his years in Philly, the way they did him at the end of that. Like,
yeah, that was
he went to 3 NFC Championship games, went to a Super Bowl, and definitely should have won that. But
Hey, look, he finally got the monkey off his back, and I think I saw the Chiefs opened at 3.5-point favorites for the Super Bowl. So, if he goes back to back, my goodness.
Who do you think? Who's your pick for the Super Bowl? I kind of am not entirely sure.
I think the 3.5-point line is probably a little too generous towards the Buccaneers, to be honest. I think the Chiefs should win by like a touchdown or more. they were so clearly bored. Like every leading up to this game, they were just bored. And you know, they're playing in the Super Bowl again. They have a chance to go back to back. Mahomes is still the best quarterback in football. Kelsey is unguardable. Uh, I don't know. Like the Buccaneers will be a cute story, but I don't think that defense, as good as it is going to hold up against the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I think I'm leaning towards the Chiefs. I've seen Patrick Mahomes and that team do it too many times, where they can
yeah,
just throw up 28 points in a quarter.
it's so stupid.
And a lot of it is usually in the last like 5 minutes of a half or something like that.
Yeah.
For me to bet against them, I can't do that. But I don't think it's gonna be a blowout. I think it's gonna be a lower scoring game than we all think, because that's always what happens. We always think that it's gonna be one way and it ends up not.
No, yeah, it's never.
And Tom Brady has a lot of weapons. Like, the difference between playing the Bills and playing Tom Brady's Bucks is that Tom Brady has about 4 different number 1 options on the side of his offensive side.
Yeah. Yeah,
And the Bills have 1, so it's kind of like, it's going to be hard to guard the Buccaneers for the Chiefs, even for the Chiefs,
I think their defense is a little underrated.
The Chiefs?
Like, yeah. Like they're the old Colts type defenses where, like
bend it but don't break.
Yeah, well, you'd get, you'd hope for Peyton Manning to get you a like two or three score lead, and then you'd just pin your ears back and rush the passer and cover well. And the Chiefs have like kind of perfected that, I think, at this point.
Sure.
Like Matthew is a perfect player for that defense.
Well, if they get the lead, pressure. It's been known that pressure on Tom Brady makes him crack. So,
and it's just, I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to say that the Buccaneers are like happy to be there or anything like that, because obviously I think I picked them in the preseason to go to the Super Bowl. I don't remember.
We don't have that recorded.
Yeah, no, it was it was a while ago. But the Chiefs are just good. Like I don't know. We tend to overthink things a lot, and at the end of the day, the Chiefs, like you said, they can score 28 points in like 2 minutes. And before you know it, it's 35-7 in the third quarter, and Patrick Mahomes is like throwing left-handed passes because he's bored.
Yeah.
So I think the Chiefs will win. Like I said, I would put the line closer to like 6.5 if it was me, but I don't know anything. So
the more I think about it, you might be right, but I think it'll be it's gonna be one of those games where it's gonna be close throughout, and then the Chiefs are gonna probably blow it out in the last 5 or 6 minutes. All of a sudden, a game that's like 17-21 turns into 48-17 after 3 minutes of football.
The Buccaneers have so much talent on defense, but I think in this age of the NFL, like if you have an offense like the Chiefs do, you're up against it at that point. If you're the other team,
yeah,
it's just.
All I know is it's gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah, really this was the first time in a while that I think all 4 possible matchups were actually good.
Yeah, I would have loved any matchup that ended up coming out.
Yeah, there's none of them that were upsetting.
Mm-hmm. Rodgers, Mahomes, Rodgers, Josh Allen. Allen, the Bills having to face Tom Brady again.
Did you see, Tom Brady's record against the Bills?
Oh, what is it, like
career?
21-0?
I was 32-3.
Jeez.
The Bills saw he won the they saw he won the NFC title, and they were like, nah, we're good, man.
Yeah, they said, nah, you got it.
Yeah, let's kick a bunch of field goals. Let's just
we'll wait till next season.
Go home.
Wait till next season. Maybe he'll retire if he wins the Super Bowl.
Jesus.
Who knows?
I remember someone on the Bills in the offseason giving an interview where they were like, Tom Brady's finally out of our division. Like, maybe we can, or, like we're the favorites now, blah, blah, blah. And I felt like it would have been so poetic for the Bills to pull that out and have to go
play Tom Brady
in the Super Bowl.
It's just absolutely nuts. Tom Brady has that Michael Jordan type legacy. We get to watch that unfold from start to finish with Tom.
Yeah, no, and it's just weird, man. I don't know. I think since like 18, whenever he beat the Rams, that was kind of when I was like, okay, whatever. Like, there's
Mm.
nothing you can say about this guy. So for him to like be here again with a legitimate chance to win another one with a different team in his first year there, like, okay, what
I gave it
I've
up
no
after 16, was it? No, 17. Yeah, well, the 16-17 season when he came back on the Falcons.
we don't talk about that game, man.
I gave up at that point. That's when I was like, all right, I'm
Uh,
never ever ever betting against this man ever again.
the most frustrating game in NFL history, I think.
The most frustrating part about it is the memes that were lost because of the outcome.
Oh man,
We lost
yeah.
so many
uh,
great memes
I
that
still remember finding that one of Tom Brady sitting down on the field with like Malcolm and Martin and I think Rosa Parks
were
and
laughing at
Scott
him.
laughing at him. And
Uh,
that was right after the election too. So we were
mm,
looking for a win, and
we
that was
took
really like
double
good.
L's.
That was a good signal for what the next 4 years were going to be like.
Ah,
Uh,
man. All right, Bo, we can't talk about that stuff. Republicans watch podcasts too. All right. I'm gonna be on my Michael Jordan with this, all right?
said no. I said nothing positive or negative. I simply made a point.
Oh man. Well, speaking of great quarterbacks, Philip Rivers retired as well.
Man, pour one out for my guy.
Uh,
That's why I'm wearing.
Listen, pour one out because he doesn't have like 11 children he's about to go home to on a daily basis.
Bro, let's see. Let's see. Philip Rivers kids names. Let's see.
He's got to have
Gunner,
at least.
dude, Gunner. That's such a good name.
Oh, that's. I
He's
could have
got
guessed that one.
he's got 9 kids, man.
Yeah, and he's gonna. What's the oldest? Well, how
I
old's the
think
oldest one?
Gunner. I think Gunner.
What is he right now?
That's a good question.
It's got to be like 11 or 12 by now, yeah.
Probably, yeah. Oh, Hallie is 18. His daughter Hallie is 18.
One's
Yeah.
about to be out the door.
Gunner's 12. Caroline, Grace, Sarah, Peter, Rebecca, Claire, and Anna is 1. Bro, how?
Wait. 5 of them were all the same age?
No. Let's see.
There's no way. She was pumping them out, huh?
18, 15, 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, and 1. Bro, his wife gets no breaks. No days off, man.
No days off. And he's back. What's the
he's back
over
home.
under? Over under 2 kids in the next year. In the next 2 years.
Oh man. I'll take the under. I'm gonna take the under, but I do think there will be one. At least one more.
But
does it count if they adopt?
No, it does not count.
It has to be.
She has to
I'll take
birth
the
another
under.
one.
I'll take the under, but I do think there will be one more.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I saw a debate too about Phillip and whether he was a Hall of Famer. I saw people trying to argue and make jokes that he wasn't a Hall of Famer.
It's frustrating.
I think that's blasphemous.
Yeah.
I would say Philip Rivers is a Hall of Famer, and I would go as far to say that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer if he didn't retire in the same year as Drew Brees. I feel like he's going to become eligible the same year as him, and then they're going to pick Brees, of course. Like, of course, Brees goes over Phillip, but they're also going to pick some old heads that haven't gotten in. This is like their 7th try getting in since like 1960, and they're going to throw them in there instead of Phillip. Yeah. He's going to get screwed out of it.
He's not first ballot, but he's 5th all-time in passing yards. He's 5th all-time in passing touchdowns. He's top 10 in fourth quarter comebacks. I think the issue is just his postseason record. He's 5-7, and he obviously didn't win a Super Bowl.
And I mean,
Um,
football's a team sport more than
yeah,
anything, and that's what did the Chargers give him? Outside, he had that. I mean, listen, he did have the great teams with LT and Antonio Gates, and they ran into those buzzsaw Patriots.
yeah, no,
But after that, there was like a good decade of like just
yeah,
having
like
trash O
it
lines.
was like the offensive line would be bad, or like Vincent Jackson left, and they kind of struggled to replace him. They never had like a real number two to like help Vincent Jackson not just get doubled every time. And really, like, what sucks is like they had Antonio Gates, obviously one of the best receiving tight ends ever. Um, but they really had him before like the whole like tight end wave took off. So like they weren't really scheming to get him open. Like, um, I don't think he's first ballot, but he's gonna get in, and I think people should stop kidding themselves that he's not gonna get in. And um, the NFL Hall of Fame is much more forgiving than like the MLB Baseball Hall of Fame or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he'll get in. He played in the AFC Championship game on a torn ACL. Like, come on, man.
That is there are two favorite memories of Phillip Rivers to me. One is that one, torn ACL, AFC Championship game against the Patriots. Two is shit trash talking Jay Cutler, like every time he'd
Dude,
play him from across the
We're
field.
never gonna see another player like Phillip Rivers. That's
And mind you, he would trash talk without cursing.
that was always the best part. Like people would go on the internet and be mad about Rivers talking, and they'd be like, "Oh, it's just so disrespectful." And then like if you knew what he was saying,
Yeah,
you'd just be like, "He's over there being like, Dad gum, dude, you got to throw that sooner." Dad gum, man. Like, come on.
Gee golly, he beat you on that edge,
Yeah.
bro. He
Yeah,
beat you on that edge, brother.
Yeah.
Should have tried harder.
He's and the bolo ties. Yeah, no,
Shoot.
I'll miss Phillip Rivers. He was fun. He was fun.
He was great. He's easily one of my favorite quarterbacks.
It's unfortunate because like his prime coincided with like four other guys just being the absolute best at the positions ever seen. Like,
and being a part of the Chargers.
Yeah,
It kind of leads. I mean, a lot of people gave Eli a little flack when he forced his way out of getting drafted to the Chargers, and they swapped their picks, Phillip and Eli.
Well,
But there was kind of a reason for it, I would say.
Yeah, I think Eli wasn't built to handle that kind of franchise. He got to go to New York where they did everything they could to build around him, recognize what he was, and the Chargers are just cheap. Yeah. Eli wouldn't have had anywhere near a successful career if he was
in San Diego, yeah.
In San Diego, yeah.
Definitely. If I was gonna name this era's, well, I guess technically it's last eras with a couple holdovers. I would go personally Aaron Rodgers first. Drop Brady in there second. I have to go Manning, Breeze. And then I think Phillip falls in that number 5 with Romo a close number 6.
Ooh, yeah. No, I would say Brady, Manning, Rodgers, Breeze. And then you have like some combination of Rivers, Roethlisberger. Romo was great.
Listen,
Romo's underrated.
All I know is there are 2 of the triple Bs in the Super Bowl. One of them has not been Roethlisberger.
No, that's unfortunate, isn't it?
I can't put Ben though over Phillip or Romo though in any I couldn't do that.
You can make a case to put him in over Rivers, but yeah, Romo's career is like Rivers' career on steroids. Like he put up the numbers and all that stuff, but yeah,
Romo would get beat to hell by the media, and homeboy put up 47 points, but he threw the final interception, and they'd say it was all his fault when he had like 400 yards and 5 TDs. Like, Dallas gave him nothing on defense. Like his defenses were the worst.
Oh yeah, no, those teams were never good. They were never that good. I still remember being stunned when the Giants went into Dallas and beat the crap out of them in that NFC Championship game to go to the Super Bowl. Like that was just, or was it a divisional? I don't even remember. I think it was the divisional round.
He got juiced though the catch year.
Oh yeah, no,
that was definitely, I think that was their year to win a ring, was definitely that year. But the whole catch rule thing, that took that all away from them.
You think Dak is still the starter in Dallas next year?
I think he has to be, unless they somehow trade for Matthew Stafford or Deshaun Watson.
There's 3 quarterbacks that I think could be available, but
outside of Deshaun and
Deshaun's
Stafford?
going to be available. Stafford's available. And did you see what Aaron Rodgers said today? After the game?
I didn't see what he said after. No.
Pull that quote up real quick. It's
was it juicy?
It's very juicy, actually.
He said, "We'll see what's up." How many years does he have on the contract?
I think he has got like 4 more years left, but basically he said like there's a lot of uncertainty in this building right now, and that includes me about next year. So yeah, he didn't sound like someone that was 100% confident he'd be back in Green Bay next year. So it's a little juicy off-season nugget.
Listen, you could take this to the bank now, clip it, chat, whatever. Aaron Rodgers gets sent to a team that has any sort of weapons, they win the Super Bowl. I don't care.
Yeah.
No, if he leaves the Packers and goes anywhere that has more than one weapon on it, they're winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no. If he actually goes, if he goes to the management and says I want out, like the 49ers, who obviously should be trying to get Deshaun and Stafford, should drop everything and just do everything they can to pull Rodgers out of Green Bay.
Isn't that where he wanted to go in the first place, right?
I mean, that's where he
came
was
from Cal.
He's from Bear, yeah.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Then they got Alex Smith, and he was hot. Dropped all the way to what, 24, 26, something like that.
He fell hard.
And then, the rest is history.
Yeah, no, that would be. I think San Francisco is a quarterback away from winning like 2 or 3 Super Bowls. That team is stacked.
Yeah. Speaking of those available quarterbacks, though, well, who do you want to start with, Stafford or Deshaun Watson saying the Jets are his top?
I don't buy that. That came from a Miami reporter who has no Texans connections, and I think he was just trying to make waves. Yeah, the only team, I mean, there's plenty of teams. Like I think I said last week, like, again, I think there's only 4 teams that wouldn't entertain a Deshaun Watson trade. But I think if he gets traded, he's got to go to the Dolphins. That's the only team that makes any sense to me personally to really go out and get him.
Yeah,
I do think if he went to the Jets, like, I think the Jets are a lot closer than people realize, because like we've seen teams lose Adam Gase and all of a sudden they're
good again, like
better.
The Dolphins.
Like the Dolphins.
I mean, the
Ryan
Dolphins
Tannehill
purposely tanked that next season to get all the picks that they got.
Yeah, like Tannehill leaves Gase and becomes a MVP caliber quarterback. Like,
yeah,
it's the same reason why I'm not ready to give up on Sam Darnold. Like,
no, not at all.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, okay, so you have the number 2 overall pick. Just take like Devonta Smith or take Penei Sewell or Rashawn Slater, one of the tackles, whatever you want to do. See if Darnold is really bad, and if he still is, then guess what? Like, you're gonna have a top 5 pick again next year anyway.
Yeah.
So take a quarterback then if you really want to. Like, there's not gonna be any shortage of quarterbacks in the coming years. Like, you're gonna have Spencer Rattler from Oklahoma. You're gonna have Sam Howell from North Carolina. A couple years, you're gonna have the guy with the nightmare name from Clemson. Like, just if Darnold is still good, like I think he can be, then you're way closer to success than you thought you were going to be.
Yeah, definitely. Sam Darnold, also that Jets team, they weren't just getting like blown out every game,
No, yeah, they were competitive enough, and I mean they beat a good Rams team, and they beat a good Browns team. I mean, the Rams loss is much more unforgivable just because of not getting devastated by COVID the weekend before the game. But yeah, like yeah, I don't think the Jets are that far away as people think, or people like to think they are.
But I still think it's crazy to have them as your top pick, though.
Yeah, yeah,
If that rumor was true, I don't see how the Jets would be my pick. That'd be like somebody in the NBA saying they want to go to the Knicks. Nobody wants to do that. Like, come on.
just coincidentally both New York teams. Nothing. Yeah, no, yeah, I wouldn't personally want to go to the Jets if I was him, but I don't think it's as awful a situation as people make out. I would I would think Miami is the spot for him. And I think it's the easiest trade to make work.
Easily. You get if you're the
You get
Texans, you get Tua and
yeah, right.
you
Number
get the number
3.
3 pick, which can easily turn into your new cornerstone wide receiver. I mean, you can't get much better than that after you just
Yeah.
botched Deshaun Watson and Hopkins.
It's insane.
And
I'll never understand how they blew that hard.
No.
Especially in the NFL where like once you have a player under contract, like you practically own them anyway.
Right.
Like
I don't know, man. Texans are special. Like we said in the
that's
last cast.
bravo, man. That's
Just
the 30 for 30 on them is going to be amazing. Can't wait.
Yeah, but Matthew Stafford. That one was surprising, although I feel like long overdue. He's been wallowing away in Detroit forever.
Yeah. That's it's tough, man. I think he wanted to probably be there, but I don't think he has any interest in a full-on rebuild.
Yeah, if
which
you've
they're
been
gonna have
there
to go
that
through again.
long, he clearly enjoyed being in
Yeah.
Detroit, but
To
yeah,
like lose Calvin Johnson and stick it out, and just the way the Lions lose some games, like it's uh I think he winds up in Indy just because they have tons of cap space, they have picks, they can get that done. That'd be a shrewd move for them, I think. But my dark horse for him is again San Francisco because they really are just a quarterback away.
San Fran, yeah. I think I would go more. I'm leaning more towards that Colts. Just because for one, I don't know. I don't think the Colts want to go back to Brissett at all, and I really feel like the options are running out for them. And they were a really good team. You know, they were top 10 defense, top 10 offense. As scary as it is for me as a Titans fan, Matthew Stafford going over there makes a lot of sense for them, and they instantly become a contender to me. Once that happens, you know.
They're a lot like the Bucks. Like they're really a quarterback, like an actual, not that Rivers wasn't, but I mean you could tell kind of in the playoff game. A lot of these older quarterbacks as the season has gone on, like the wears started to become obvious.
Yeah, you
And
could
when
tell it was the end of the road.
Rivers couldn't even get the ball to the end zone on the Hail Mary. So yeah, they're just the Colts are ready to like win now. So if they can get a guy like Stafford or somehow end up with Deshaun or Rodgers or something like that, like be amazing. But there's no way Houston sends Deshaun Watson in the division.
How many years does Stafford have left on that contract?
I think I saw it was 2.
He still has 2 years left, yeah.
Yeah.
2 years.
Still sling it too. I mean,
yeah, Stafford, he's another one. He's like a Phillip-esque quarterback to me. He's he's a tough guy. I remember when he didn't he destroy his shoulder?
Like dislocated his shoulder and
Yeah.
then still let it come back against the Browns.
Yeah, went out there on
Yeah.
like a friggin' 4th and goal or something and scored
Yeah, no,
that.
Stafford's a tough guy. No, he'll land on his feet somewhere.
Yeah, can't wait to see this offseason was gonna felt like it was about to be a little dry, and then
Yeah, well, again,
now,
like Rodgers' press conference was the way he said what he said is gonna fuel so much speculation for a couple weeks.
Yeah, we'll see. I know a lot of people are gonna be upset. Packer Nation is not happy right now.
Oh well,
Most of them are saying that it's rigged and they're in denial. They're on that New Orleans train right now.
The Saints fan.
It's everyone's fault but ours. But
that's honestly I'll go to my grave saying that the no call on the PI in 2018 was the best call ever. It's just God, I love it. The cognitive dissonance for the fans of the franchise that was running Bounty Gate to be upset about refs is just so funny to me. Like, I think we watched the 2012 NFC Championship together when, the Saints did everything short of pulling out a gun and shooting Brett Favre.
Yes, we did.
Like, yeah, come on now. To have the audacity to be upset about refs when that was your team, like, come on. I don't want to hear it.
Hey. Some people don't want to look in the mirror to see the truth. That's what it comes down to, really.
Oh man.
But yeah, this if this quarterback carousel actually happens the way it's sounding like it can, it's gonna be really interesting and really fun. Yeah. It's gonna be a real fun off season. Is that all for football? Did we already work through football?
Yeah, man, I think so. We're on the Super Bowl, man. Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. That's actually, the more I think about it, it's such a good matchup.
It's gonna be a passing of the guard when Mahomes beats him and Tom Brady calls it quits.
I think Brady will play past this year. He's got 2 years on his contract.
He'll play the contract out. Yeah.
And it's $25 million, and then I think he'll try 1-year deals until he's 50.
You think so?
Yeah, until he's going to play until he physically can't anymore. Like until
people tell him he can't.
Yeah, that's the move for Brady. So we'll see. But it's again just I think we all need to just take a moment to realize how insane it is that Tom Brady's in his 10th Super Bowl in 20 years.
Yeah. It's one of those
it's like unbelievable.
You gotta just enjoy it while you're in that moment. You're living through history. This is the kind of stuff that people make those 30 for 30s and last dances to. And you can watch them, and say that you actually saw this happen live, You gotta appreciate it while it's here because you miss them when they're gone, kind of thing.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think that's all for the NFL, so we should probably move to the depressing part of the show.
Wow. The association?
The one I've been dreading.
Why?
We'll just come up. We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
All right. Well, Kyrie Irving returned to the lineup after his hiatus. And the Nets did what we expected them to do, be bad on defense, put up a ton of offense.
Yeah.
But they lost to the worst offensive team in the league, the Cleveland Cavaliers, two times in a row.
They had Colin Sexton out there looking like Steph Curry, man.
Colin Sexton in that first game was going off.
Yeah.
Like, all kinds of off, and Irving wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah, no, they're a fun team. They're a fun roster, but I don't know what they can really do. I mean, they'll find a buyout guy or two, but that team does not play any defense at all. Like, they don't even try. And you can't give up like 140 points to the Cavaliers and then 120 points the next game and expect me to take you seriously.
Yeah, like
it was
their main weakness. I mean, they're weak all over on defense. I mean, Kyrie Irving's not the best defender. James Harden put defense away when he left OKC. Durant's okay at defense.
He's just Durant's just coming off a torn Achilles, so
yeah, that
that's
too.
tough.
But that center position, like anyone at center is gonna eat if
Yeah,
they have a
like
decent center. Like,
no.
I mean, Jared Allen scored like, I mean, he was pretty efficient. He wasn't their main feature, but he was efficient. And then they played the Heat yesterday, and the Heat lost. That was their first win as a trio, but Bam Adebayo had 41 points on those Nets.
I saw that. Yeah.
What do you think Joel Embiid and AD are gonna do?
Yeah, no, that's yeah. I'm stunned that what's his name? D'Antoni disciple and Steve Nash, who has D'Antoni on his bench, would have a team that prefers not to play any defense whatsoever. I can't.
Oh yeah, I couldn't fathom that.
Yeah,
Doesn't make any
that's
sense at
unreal.
all. Yeah,
It's unreal.
I mean, it's like it's almost like they were on a team together that didn't play any defense before, and they put their non-defense expertise together for these Nets.
We'll have our crack research team look into that and see what's going on there.
Oh man, but they do look really good, and they're looking exactly the way that we expected them to be as far as offense goes. James Harden has, the lead in assists.
Yeah.
I would prefer Harden to put up a few more shots than he has been, especially a little later in games. I think the game should, Harden should be playmaking more, and the ball should end up in Durant's hands a little bit more. But I think they're on offense. They're doing what was expected.
They're a work in progress, as much as they can be. So we'll see where they get to.
People are living it up right now. A lot of haters are loving the fact that they're losing a couple games, but they forget that almost every big three has had a really rough start to their season. Every single one. The Heat started out 9-8. Like literally every big three that gets together, they are trash when they're those first like 10, 15 games. And then they get it together down the stretch when it matters most. I'm more afraid of those Nets in a playoff scenario than I am in a regular season scenario. And that's why I think they'll get to the finals. I think the playoff scenario will be a little different. Focus when the game slows down and they have the three best individual ISO players on the team and the best creators on their team in the league, they're gonna be a problem. Then it'll be enough to overcome some of their defensive woes, especially depending on who they get in the buyout market.
No, they're going to be good, and I do think they're going to make the NBA Finals. But yeah, I just like you said, like what are they going to do against Anthony Davis? Like that's end of the day, like AD should average like 45 a game against that team.
Oh, if it's a Lakers Nets finals, LeBron can kiss that finals MVP goodbye because AD's gonna drop 45 a game.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be LeBron could have averaged 20 assists that entire series and drop 25 a game, and they're gonna have to give it to AD still because he's gonna average some ridiculous number of points.
Like they're the default in the East for me just because nobody really stands out in the East to me. Like Giannis has not improved, and the issues that still have plagued him
are still there.
Yeah, like that game against the Lakers the other day, like Giannis, he doesn't have anything besides putting his head down and driving to the basket. Like his shot's not there yet. Like, and that stuff kind of matters in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. You have to be more than
get you through the regular season, but yeah, like once the games tighten up, and it comes down less to like just having more depth than it is, making plays. And so like when you have LeBron or Anthony Davis, it's a lot easier to go out there and get a bucket, or when you have like Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie Irving. Yeah. But like the Bucks are still going to be at this thing where like if Giannis isn't like shooting lights out from three, which he's not very often to do, they're going to have a hard time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The addition of Drew Holiday helps a little bit, but I still don't think it's enough to get them over
No.
the hump.
I think so.
Not at all. I think they're gonna have trouble even just getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. If the seeding ends up in a way where the only way they could meet the Nets was in the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm not sure they even get to meet them.
No, I don't think
You
so
know?
either. Not right now. And I mean, obviously it's very early, but I haven't seen anything from him. And it's like, he's still great. Like he's a great player, but there are some guys where I don't really care what you do in the regular season anymore. Like people are losing their minds over Paul George, and like yeah, he's playing great, but like the regular season's never been the issue for Paul George.
Yeah.
it's it's the throwing up a three and having it hit the backboard in the playoffs that's the issue. Like
it's kind of that Peyton Manning syndrome. Like
yeah,
we've seen you go
exactly.
crazy in the regular season, but once the playoffs come, you're throwing picks.
You're tightening up, and all of a sudden you're not hitting the shots you're supposed to be hitting.
Yeah, it's yeah, I got to see something from Giannis. Until I do, I'm gonna always bet against them until I see something otherwise, really. But yeah, the Sixers, I don't think they could get past the Sixers. The Heat aren't in the playoff picture at the moment, but I'm not worried about that because they've been resting Butler and a few players. They'll be in the playoff hunt again, and if they run into them, I don't think that they could beat Miami either. Like,
no,
there are a few teams that I don't think the Bucks could beat in a playoff situation, and yeah, they're kind of in trouble. I think Giannis shouldn't have signed that contract.
Ooh. Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, it's get better, man. Just get better. Like I'll never forget him beating the Lakers in that regular season game in Milwaukee last year and then like miming the crown on his head. And now like guys will never learn that they shouldn't mock LeBron James because it just never works out for them.
Haters, players that mock him, people trying to take his throne and make commercials about it's their town.
Yeah.
They all need to just stop. You would think after 18 years you'd figure that out, but
dude,
nope.
Tough scene all around.
Yeah. I'm not betting against LeBron James until he's retired.
No.
Because even when he's in the twilight of his career, which I honestly don't think LeBron will try and drag out his career like that, but even if he played into his twilight, he'd still be averaging, like his stat line would be probably a triple-double at that point.
Yeah.
He'd be dropping like 18, 11 with 10 rebounds easily, just being a role player.
Oh, man, I don't want to think about the end of LeBron.
Oh yeah, no, we're gonna enjoy him as he is, just like we're enjoying Tom Brady at the moment.
All right,
but
let's just get to it, man.
No,
do it.
We're gonna hold it off a little bit longer, man. We got a couple more news clips.
What else has happened in the NBA?
Steph Curry passed Reggie Miller for second all time on the 3-point list.
That's fine. Yeah, no, and the best part about that is that as time goes on, like Reggie Miller's just going to get further and further off that top 10 list because guys are just taking so many more threes now. So yeah, let's hurry up and erase Reggie Miller from the halls of NBA history, please.
So, do you think that Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time?
Yeah. Yes. Not even a question, man.
Look,
easily.
I've seen people try and argue the fact that they do shoot more threes now than they did in the NBA back in the day. But
yeah, he makes them at such an insane clip.
Yeah, and the difficulty of his threes.
Yeah,
people back then weren't doing. Larry Bird wasn't hitting step back J's, like step back threes from like 35 feet out and stuff. Like Steph Curry constantly is taking difficult threes, not spot up threes. We're talking about difficult threes at insane clips. What, for his career, he's shooting 43% from three.
I think it was his first or second. How many? He has 2 MVPs, right?
Yes.
I think it was his second MVP year where it was more efficient for the Warriors to take a long three than it was for them to try to score anywhere else on the court.
Yeah, 16, he was shooting 45% from three. He's actually done that 3 times in his career so far.
No, he's easily the best shooter ever. And I think it's funny, like, these last few years have kind of made people forget just how good Steph Curry was at his peak.
Mm-hmm.
But like, yeah, no, there was no more fun guy to watch than Steph Curry when he was really going out there.
Yeah, he's one of those few players that can boast that he did more for the game, like, than most players. He literally changed how the game is played. Before those Warriors, before he arrived, it was you live by the three, you die by the three. You'd hear Chuck out there, they're a jump shooting team, they're not gonna be able to win. Like,
oh man,
they killed that.
See? Yeah, no,
now everyone wants to shoot a three. I mean, Dirk Nowitzki had big men wanting to shoot threes before. Now there isn't a big man on the planet who wants to play in the post or any player. Everyone wants to take a three from 35 feet out. Like,
that's part of that too, is just like Houston bastardizing the game for a while there. But I think now that that's a failed experiment.
You know what's crazy about that though? They purposely shot threes. Like, I don't think the Warriors did it on purpose for analytics' sake. Like, it's they had those players, and they were open, and they made those shots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was their identity. The Rockets went out of their way to only shoot threes, and they didn't even have the impact the Warriors had in changing the way the game is played. Like, no one credits the Rockets for that because they
deserve none. They deserve no credit. Get out of here, man.
The Warriors did it within the flow of an actual basketball game. They didn't force it.
Then they added Kevin Durant, and basketball died for a couple years, and no one talked about it. Did you see that post-game interview with Shaq and Donovan Mitchell the other day?
Yes, I did.
It was so bad.
Listen, I'm kind of tired of old heads talking.
Yeah. No.
Especially Shaq, I have a problem with. Yeah. Like, and to be honest, his Donovan Mitchell take, I wasn't, on first listen, I wasn't so upset over it because I felt like compared to the things that he said to other players, he was actually trying to, like, and let him know that he was trying to push his buttons to be better.
Yeah.
Where other people, he just straight flat out disrespects the hell out of them for no reason. Just out of nowhere. Like, what is the point, Shaq, for telling Rudy Gobert that you would dunk all over him and score 40 points a night on him just because he signed a lucrative contract? Like, don't be a friggin' hater. Like, you didn't get that money because that money wasn't available when you played. If you were here when this money was there, you would be getting paid the more, if not the same, as Rudy Gobert got. Like,
Shaq's just upset that he didn't try hard enough when he played. As good as Shaq was, like, he could have been so much better, and I think it eats away at him.
Which is wild.
It eats away at him, and he just can't. I don't know, man. After that exchange with Donovan, like, I'm ready to see him not on Inside the NBA anymore. Yeah. They really need to move on from him and Chuck.
A lot of these old heads are just forgetting that the game evolves, and they glamorize their era when honestly, like, today, if you took Donovan Mitchell and you plucked him and threw him into the 90s, like, I guarantee you he would have been in finals with Michael Jordan. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could pluck a lot of these players from today and throw them into these eras that people try to glamorize, and they're going to dominate.
Yeah.
And they forget that. I mean, LeBron James, I've heard people try and say if you threw LeBron James in the late 80s, early 90s, he would get bullied and be thrown on the floor and blah, blah, blah. Like, bro, LeBron James is 6'8", 6'9", like 270. If he
Yeah,
was
like
allowed, if he played in the 80s where you were allowed to throw your body around,
yeah.
you think Bill Laimbeer would have took an elbow from LeBron James coming down the lane? He would have broke
Yeah.
Bill Laimbeer.
No,
Let
and
me look.
especially because none of those guys in the '80s were as athletic as he was. That's why like when you see Michael Jordan, like he was just more athletic than everybody else. Guys like Sean Kemp,
Listen,
uh,
Bill Laimbeer was the enforcer, right? Everyone likes
yeah,
to talk about in there on the Pistons. He was 6'11", 245 pounds. You really think LeBron James coming down the lane at 270 and 6'9" with a
Yeah.
head of steam that he has, that he's going to stay in front of him? And
Yeah.
LeBron's allowed to lead with a knee like Karl Malone or clear him out with a bow?
Yeah,
No.
no.
Like, get out of here, bro. Like, get out of here. I don't
Yeah,
care.
no, the era thing always pisses me off,
There's-
especially in a sport like baseball, like where you have guys be like, "Oh, Clayton Kershaw could never handle old school baseball," and it's like, dude, if Kershaw pitched in like the '50s or the '60s, they'd kill him because they'd think he was a wizard. Like, it's just, I hate it. I don't like the era I don't like the era comps. I just don't.
Yeah, they don't really work. There are select players that you can plug anywhere and they will be able to play. You could take
Yeah.
like I think like obviously Jordan. If you took Jordan, he was great enough that if you put him in today's game, he's going to do the same stuff that he did in his era. If you put Kareem in this era, I still think he would dominate because no one would be able to stop the friggin' skyhook to save their lives. You know what I mean? Like there are
Yeah.
certain players. Olajuwon's another one. As athletic as he was, I think he would have been able to survive nowadays too. And it's like there are very few players that can do that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you can take anyone from now and throw them back in the day, and you could put J.R. Smith in the 60s, and we're talking about him like he's freaking Julius Irving.
J.R. Smith in the '60s would be high on PCP all the time.
You're right. It might be the same outcome, actually.
Yeah, no, I
might.
think that's the same.
That's the same.
He'd get lost. You wouldn't know where to
man.
find him.
He would have played like 5 games.
God.
And then they would have just not known where he went. Oh, man. Last bit of news that I personally want to touch on before the big finale is I saw Lavar was in the news again talking about, I guess, speaking for LaMelo and saying that he wasn't happy with coming off the bench.
Oh, yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, he shouldn't be because he's better than like half the people on the Hornets. So what are we doing
yeah,
here?
and then his coach, the Charlotte's coach said, they said because the last game he played like 16 minutes, but he had 5 turnovers, and he said, well, you can't get more minutes if you're gonna turn the ball over 5 times in 16 minutes and not give me anything on defense. My argument to that is that I actually like what he's doing if it happens the way that I think it is. I'm pretty sure after All-Star break he's gonna start starting him. Like I think the reason why he's not starting is because there was no training camp, and I think he's on record of saying this too. Like there's no training camp, there's no summer league for LaMelo to go out there and do anything, and so this is technically the beginning of the season is his like summer league kind of, but you know what I mean? It's like it's his first taste of NBA competition at any level. So, but I think at a certain point you need to just throw him out here.
Yeah.
For one, he's averaging on the season. He plays 24 minutes a game. He's only averaging 2.3 turnovers. Only on a few occasions has he had a high turnover rate, but let's be honest, he's a young player. Like these things are gonna happen, and they kind of have to, especially as flashy a player as he is, he's gonna have to work through the kinks. I mean, Jason Kidd, he averaged like 4 turnovers a game at playing like 32, 34 minutes a night in his like first couple seasons. Like, you got to let them go out there and just be them, and they'll figure it out when you have a talent like that, you know?
You learn through playing. It's like I hate the argument that you draft a rookie quarterback and stash them behind a vet so they can learn the game. Like, no, just the only way they're going to get better is if they actually play.
Exactly.
Like,
It's like the Tua thing. Like, why
Yeah.
throw Fitzpatrick in to finish a game? Like, let
Yeah,
Tua figure it
it's-
out, you know?
it's stupid, and I think it translates across all sports. I mean, the only one that it really doesn't is baseball, but that, whatever,
Oh,
that's different.
Baseball's drafts the number 1 pick, and you don't see
You
him
don't
for
see him
6
for like
years.
5 years. Yeah.
And all of a
Um,
sudden, you're like, oh, yeah, I remember that guy.
But yeah, like the Hornets are not winning an NBA title, so like you might as well just let LaMelo grow on the floor. And I think honestly, I think it's the opposite. Like, because there was no training camp, because there's no summer league, like sitting him doesn't accomplish anything. So just throw him out there, let him learn the game, get up to the NBA speed and all that, and you can figure it out later. But yeah, I don't zero reason for him to be sitting. And I think we were talking about it earlier, but like, yeah, they've got to move on from Terry Rozier at this point, I think.
That was my thoughts at first, but I'm starting to believe that maybe Devontae Graham might be the one that you slide off of. He hasn't been that great this season. He's only a year younger than Terry Rozier. I think the combination of LaMelo and Rozier might be a better look going forward.
That's true. That's true.
But you have to test it out. You know,
Yeah.
you have to throw them out there,
Exactly.
and give him that time. You know.
Yeah. LaMelo was what? He was number 2 overall.
Yes.
Yeah. So just throw him out there.
Yeah. And I don't mind, honestly. I don't mind them waiting, like the giving them limited amounts of time because of the shortened off season. It's a fine idea to me, but I think what irks me the most is he didn't need to respond the way that he did about it, because he didn't need to respond to what Lavar said.
No,
like, people need to stop responding to what he
exactly.
says. Who cares? Like, who cares if he says something?
He says that shit just to get airtime, and yeah, like that's the part about that's frustrating, I think, and the Hornets are going to learn sooner rather than later that they've got to. I don't know. I don't want to say tanked Lonzo's career in LA, but he definitely hindered, I think, Lonzo's growth in Los Angeles. I would hate to see it happen to LaMelo.
I only think it won't happen to LaMelo because LaMelo has a different game. LaMelo has the confidence on offense to put the ball in the basket and do things that a fan base in a big market would expect of their star. Where Lonzo, he needed time to grow. Honestly, Lonzo needed to not have all that pressure on him, and he needed to feel the game out for a couple seasons.
I think
LA wasn't the place.
Yeah, no, that's the biggest issue for both of them. LaVar got too much media attention being in Los Angeles, and as a result, like, Lonzo got too much pressure being in Los Angeles. And it didn't help that Magic Johnson was like, hey, he's going to be better than I ever was.
Yeah, he's like, oh, Showtime Lakers are back.
Yeah.
And it's like, listen, Lonzo has an amazing feel for the game and an amazing vision, but his offense, his scoring part of his offense was not there. It just wasn't there yet. And still kind of like he's still working on his J. His J's getting better, but he's not going to go out here and average 16 points a game yet. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But I guess we could get to the meat.
The dark part.
Yeah. So January 26th will be the 1-year anniversary of Kobe's tragic death.
Yeah.
And I feel like we should take some time out this episode just to maybe everything about Kobe has been said, I would say, but maybe we just reflect on what Kobe Bryant meant to us as individuals and what we think he meant to the game to us.
To me, the more interesting part about Kobe's impact is his impact on the city of Los Angeles. Um, they loved him in this city, man. Like, I don't think you'll never see an athlete reach the level of respect that everybody in Los Angeles had for Kobe Bryant. Um, and especially like multiculturally too. Like that was always the thing that really pissed me off about that Clippers marketing campaign last year where they were trying to market themselves as like the blue collar team in Los Angeles. Like Kobe Bryant's work ethic absolutely inspired so many people in Los Angeles. And I would go even further and say like I know plenty of like Filipino people that like looked at Kobe Bryant as an inspiration and Latino and obviously black and white. Everybody just yeah. His impact on Los Angeles as a city is something to behold. And I don't know if there's an athlete across the country that has ever impacted a city the way he has. And that was just such a surreal day. Even doesn't feel like a year ago. It feels honestly just yesterday. Especially given what happened the night before with LeBron passing him on the all-time scoring list, and then to wake up the next morning and have someone be like, hey, Kobe Bryant died, and be like, what are you talking about? And then the news starts to trickle in, and as someone that works in sports media, like it's tough. Like you see that story comes from TMZ, and uh, you don't want to jump the gun and be like, oh, well, that's true, definitely, because it's not like TMZ is the most reliable. But then in the back of your head, you also know like TMZ usually gets that kind of stuff right. Like, I think I remember telling you that TMZ was reporting that Michael Jackson had passed away, and so that was just once I saw that it was from TMZ, like I just got that pit in my stomach. And just as more information comes out, as it starts to get confirmed, and it's just it was a hard day.
Yeah, you have a knack for breaking that kind of news to me. I think you've broken every celebrity death there is to me in the last like 13 years. But to me, Kobe Bryant, what cements what I think is different about his legacy than any other player in the history of the game is, well, for one, he was the first athlete that we actually got to watch. We watched grow up from start to finish, and he actually played through a lot of this, through about half of the beginning of the social media era. And we got to see him grow up. We got to see man, it's hard to talk about. Basically what's different about him is where people in the 90s wanted to be like Mike, Kobe Bryant went and did that, and then he taught us how to be like Mike. The Mamba mentality is something that will live on forever. He created an idea that will never die. And it's not something that is strictly related to basketball. The Mamba mentality lives through anything that you want to achieve. If you want to be a better husband, if you want to be better at your sports media job, at your regular desk job, you want to be a better doctor, you want to you want to be better at video games, you want to be better at a whole different sport altogether, you take the lessons that he taught through the Mamba mentality of just trying to learn everything that you possibly can and having that drive and determination to, achieve your goal, and you're going to do that. And, it's I think that's why it hurt so much when he left this world, because he had so much to give us past his retirement. Um, and not just, he wasn't just a guy that dribbled a basketball. Like, his mind was so much bigger than that. And there was so much more that he had to offer. Um, I mean, I loved that at the end of his career and after his career, he was constantly in contact with players in the league that wanted to learn from him, and he was more than willing to share anything that he could with them, you know. I loved his work in the women's game, working not only with his daughter, but with other prominent female basketball players and taking his daughter to the games and just trying to. I would have loved to see what his impact and influence would have been and what it would have done for, the WNBA and women's basketball, especially when Gigi would have become of age to get there, you know what I mean? Um, it's still, like you said, it's.
And like you said, like he had just started his second career, and I think it's hard. And I think one of the funny things is, like, not funny, but we all wanted so bad for there to be a LeBron Kobe rivalry, and I think as we get further away from it, we realize that those two had so much respect for each other.
Mm-hmm.
And it just, and like, yeah, like you said, like this, everything he did for the women's game and all that is remarkable. But it's just, it doesn't feel real still. Like, I'll talk to one of our friends and be like, we'll just talk about it randomly, and it's like, oh yeah, Kobe's not here anymore. And it's like, that was the thing that hit me that day, is that, like, he always just was here in Los Angeles. Like, Kobe Bryant was synonymous with the city.
Mm-hmm.
And so for him to not be here anymore, it's always gonna be surreal. And it's just always gonna be a bunch of what ifs. And obviously, like, the loss of Gigi is almost unfathomable. And then watching the services at Staples Center was amazing. That story that Shaq told was so funny. And it's hard to not, like, Tuesday's going to be awful. There's going to be so much ugly crying all around. Like, it's just.
Yeah, there isn't a celebrity death that I can think of that hit. I'm just going to say that's hit a city even as hard as this one has. Like, no, I feel like living in the LA area, it's living in Southern California, like, you can feel it still. I don't know how it is for the rest of the nation. I have a feeling it's the same based on, like, the coverage that there is on it and just listening to other people that I know from different parts of the country. But usually a celebrity passes and you're sad.
Yeah, like,
you're sad for a little bit. Like Mike, I'm not gonna lie, when Michael Jackson died, I shed a tear. But I was kind of over it after, like, the first month or two. Kobe Bryant still gives you this weird pit in your stomach. Like, I couldn't really talk earlier, and I had a whole thing I wanted to talk about.
It was just planned. It was just so sudden. It was so sudden, and it just came out of nowhere. And for it to be as horrific as it was, I think that doesn't help. And yeah, like, it's just. And I think, like, kind of going back to what I said, like, he inspired the world. Like, he was ours in Los Angeles. Like, like, Kobe Bryant was our athlete. Like, he's synonymous with this city. Like I said, like, it's like, what is it? It's like Kobe, Magic, and then maybe, like, Fernando Valenzuela. But even then, like, it's probably a long list of Lakers on that list. But Kobe is above all of them. And no matter what you think of his career, whoever you think is better than him, worse than him, blah, 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 like, everybody in the city, if they like basketball, like, they like Kobe Bryant, they like the Lakers.
Everyone in Los Angeles was ride or die for Kobe Bryant. It didn't matter. It didn't matter if you had
Yeah, I mean,
facts or anything. It didn't matter. Like
no.
he could do no wrong. He
And even before I liked basketball, like I still knew who he was. And
that's
like as
another
I
thing,
got
yeah.
older and started to understand basketball more, like you start to you couldn't help but respect him and love him and everything he did. And like watching his last game and crying at that, getting emotional over that, and then knowing like, now knowing that what, like 4 years later, 3 years later after that, that he'd just be gone.
Yeah, you
Like,
yeah,
and
no.
like as he was just starting, and it's just
Yeah.
I'm not ready to see what Powell has to say. It's just
Yeah,
yeah.
it's crazy, dude. And it sucks cuz I spent a majority of his last few years right before before the Achilles injury, like not being the biggest fan of him because being a Heat fan and how diehard these Laker people are for Kobe, they created this rivalry between the Lakers
Yeah,
and Miami that never materialized, and they
never
felt
came to fruition. Yeah.
so threatened by that big three in Miami that never played the Lakers in a meaningful game. Um, they made me dislike the Lakers and they made me dislike Kobe because of their attitudes. And like, so I look back at that and I feel like that sucks. Like, I didn't get to appreciate him as much as I should have during his prime, during the end of his prime,
Yeah.
you know?
But I mean, I think the best part about that is that like we live in the age where you can literally just go to YouTube and search Kobe best games,
Yeah.
and it's just like right there.
I
And like
actually,
I think like knowing, like I said, like knowing that him and LeBron had that mutual respect for each other and that love for each other, I don't know, like
oh yeah, all the way till
it
the
just makes
end,
it easier.
all the way till his last days. Um, I'll tell like one Kobe story uh, before we dip out for me. I remember being at a Lakers game. It was Lakers Nets. This was in like this had to have been like '06, '07. This is when Kobe was completely by himself with like Smush Parker as his point guard, okay?
Yeah.
Like the 81 point game days and stuff like that, you know? Um so I got box seats. My dad's company had box seats. Me and my dad went to the game. Um, the Lakers are down by like 12, 13 points with like 2 minutes to go. And everyone in our box leaves the game. They just dip out. And like me and my dad looked at each other and looked around and we were like, do they not know Kobe is still in the game? And no lie, in that next like 3 minutes that were left in the game, Kobe went off and ended up tying the game up and going into overtime. Like all those people who were in the box completely missed out on all of that.
Yeah.
Now, the Lakers did not pull out the victory after all of that. But Kobe was one of those people that like when he was in a game, you couldn't turn it off. It didn't
No,
matter how much they were down. The game was never completely out of reach until the buzzer hit 0, and the Lakers didn't have as many points as the other team.
yeah.
Like that was you couldn't, if you knew sports, if you knew the Lakers, if you knew Kobe Bryant, you weren't gonna turn the TV off until the buzzer
No.
sounded.
Yeah. My favorite game of his like that, I think it was like 13 or 14, maybe like 12 against the Raptors, and they were down like 7 with 40 something seconds to go, and Kobe just hit like a bunch of backbreaker threes to like tie the game and send it into overtime and just kept doing it. And it's just like, yeah, like it's funny, like the mystique of Kobe is sometimes greater than the actual player, but like there are just so many moments like that that Laker fans can go back to and look at, and like you totally understand why they feel that way.
Oh yeah.
And you can't blame them at all. And I think my favorite thing that Kobe said was like after LeBron signed here, he was talking about how not everybody can play here. And I think everybody should know by now that the expectations of Laker fans is extremely high. So much so that after that first garbage year with LeBron, like some of these people were out in the streets being like, sell the team genie, fire Rob Pelinka, blah blah blah.
Trade LeBron.
Yeah, like the expectations, and obviously like that's not the core of the fan base. But like Kobe was giving an interview and he basically said that not everybody's built to play here, and that you have to want to do it and you have to want to take that pressure on. And like that is the perfect summation of his career. I think like he wanted to be here. He took that pressure and like he won five titles, could have had more.
Yeah.
Man. 2010 will always be my favorite finals, I think.
Was that the one where he played the Magic?
Celtics.
Oh, the Celtics one. Oh yeah, the Magic one was in 08.
7.
Yeah.
Yeah. That game 7 where he wasn't, people like to point out the 6 for 24 or whatever it was, but like Kobe was getting rebounds in that game and he was getting assists. Like he was doing the other stuff that he needed to do for them to win. And I think like that gets lost a lot in his career too, is he was always willing to do what it took. And that's like, that really rubbed off on the city of Los Angeles.
Remember that game or that playoff series? Were you watching basketball at that point when
which year?
It was when they played the Suns. I'm pretty sure it was during the Smush years too. He dragged them to the playoffs. They played the Suns. They were up 3-1, and everyone complained about how he wasn't passing the ball enough. So he just only passed the ball for the next 3 games, and they lost the series.
Yeah, he's
yeah.
It's gonna be. It's just, I don't know. It's just never gonna set in.
Yeah. Ah, man. Well, I don't want to cry on cast, so I think we should end that here. I want to thank everyone who was for watching, whether on YouTube or listening on podcasts. We'll have another episode for you coming on Monday. So, peace.
See you guys.
Bearded king first. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. We the best of the best. Not too many top-notch podcasts left. We don't even need much time to prep. Never ever know what we gon' do next, but real recognize real, you see. So please tell me that you're feeling me, cause I can smell jealousy from a mile away. And there's no space for that on the show today. Might hurt a couple feelings, but so what? It'll be a good story to tell when we blow up. Try to shut us down, you gon' have no luck, cause we locked in and we tryna get the whole cut. So just vibe, look alive, pay homage, we arrive. We ain't going nowhere, so fall back. Legendary anthem like Left Eye and all that. Unpopular opinion, I'll swagger on a million. Immaculate civilians, adapting like chameleons. Be cautious in our dominion. Banks all around us on Vivian, taking off like balloons filled with helium. Got cheese and bread, Sicilian. Unpopular opinion, unpopular opinion.